Tonight, you're listening to Nighttime Knowledge, a quiet place for calm explanations of current scientific and geopolitical topics. This is not a news update. There's no urgency here. You don't need to watch. There's nothing on the screen you'll miss. Just listen. To talk about satellites, it helps to begin with something simple. Most of the time, we don't notice them at all. They don't make noise. They don't announce themselves. They simply work. High above the surface of the Earth, objects are moving quietly, again and again, following paths that rarely change. These objects are satellites, and although they are far away, they shape modern life in ways that are easy to forget. Tonight, we'll take some time to notice them. Not dramatically, just carefully. Let's start with the idea of invisibility. Satellites are part of what we might call quiet infrastructure, like electrical grids or water pipes. They are essential, but rarely seen. Most people interact with satellites every day without realizing it. Navigation, weather forecasts, communication, timing. All of these depend on systems in orbit. Yet when they work well, there is nothing to notice. That invisibility is part of their design. Satellites are meant to fade into the background, to do their job, without drawing attention. To understand how they manage this, we need to talk briefly about how they stay in space. Satellites do not float. They are not held up by anything. They are constantly falling toward the Earth. The reason they do not crash into the surface is that they are also moving forward, fast enough that as they fall, the Earth curves away beneath them. This balance between falling and moving forward is what we call orbit. It is not static. It is a continuous motion. Different satellites use different kinds of orbits. Some stay close to the Earth. Others move much farther out. Some appear to remain fixed above one point, rotating at the same speed as the planet below. Each orbit solves a different problem. Low orbits are useful for observation. Higher orbits are useful for communication. None of this is accidental. Every orbit is chosen carefully, based on physics, energy, and purpose. One of the most important roles satellites play has nothing to do with images or signals. It has to do with time. Modern systems depend on precise timing. Financial transactions, power grids, communication networks, all require clocks that agree with one another. Satellites carry extremely accurate clocks. They constantly broadcast time signals back to the Earth. Receivers compare these signals, measure tiny differences, and calculate position and synchronization. This is how global navigation works, not by knowing where you are, but by knowing exactly when signals arrive. Time, in this sense, is more important than location. Navigation systems quietly solve one of the most complex problems modern technology faces. They do it continuously and almost invisibly. When you check your location, your device is listening to space. It does this calmly, without delay, and without asking for attention. Communication satellites work in a similar way. They act as mirrors in orbit. Signals are sent up. They are reflected back down, covering distances that would otherwise require thousands of kilometers of cables. Weather satellites watch the planet slowly. They do not focus on moments. They focus on patterns, cloud movement, temperature shifts, changes that unfold over hours and days. This long view allows forecasts to exist at all. Satellites make it possible to see Earth as a system rather than a collection of places. Over time, this quiet observation has become something modern life depends on. When satellites fail, other systems struggle. Navigation becomes less accurate. Communication becomes less reliable. Timing drifts. Most of the time, these failures are temporary. Redundancy is built in. Backups exist. The goal is stability, not perfection. This brings us to a newer idea, one that has begun to appear more often. In recent discussions, the idea of computing beyond Earth. On the surface, it sounds ambitious. Data centers in space, artificial intelligence running in orbit. But when slowed down, the motivation becomes easier to understand. Modern computing generates heat, a great deal of it. Cooling large data centers on Earth has become increasingly difficult. Energy is required. Water is required. Physical space is required. In orbit, some of these constraints change. Space is naturally cold. Solar energy is constant. There are no neighbors, no weather, no seasons. From a purely physical perspective, this is appealing. But physics solves only part of the problem. Data still needs to move. Signals still take time. Latency matters. Maintenance matters. Hardware fails. In space, repair is difficult. Replacement is expensive. And systems must operate for long periods without intervention. For artificial intelligence in particular, energy and cooling are only part of the equation. Training large models requires constant data exchange, massive bandwidth, rapid iteration. These processes benefit from proximity, from being close to users and to other systems. For now, most AI computing remains firmly on Earth. What space offers instead is experimentation, specialized tasks, edge cases, not replacement, but extension. This is an important distinction. Many ideas sound transformative until examined carefully. When we slow them down, they often become more modest, more realistic. This does not make them less interesting. It makes them more grounded. Satellites represent this balance well. They are ambitious, but constrained, powerful, but limited. They quietly support modern life. Without demanding attention, they are not symbols of the future. They are part of the present. As we finish, it helps to look slightly ahead, not far into the future, just far enough to notice a few quiet trends. One of those trends is simple. There are more satellites than ever before. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. Lower launch costs have made access to orbit easier. Satellites have become smaller, more specialized, designed to work together rather than alone. From the ground, this can sound chaotic. Crowded orbits, too many objects. But in practice, most of this growth is managed carefully. Orbits are tracked. Paths are predicted. Adjustments are planned long in advance. Space is not empty, but it is organized. Another subject often mentioned in the same breath is space debris, fragments, inactive satellites, objects no longer serving a purpose. It sounds worrying, and in some cases, it is. But here too, reality is calmer than the headlines suggest. Most debris is tracked. Risks are calculated. Avoidance maneuvers are routine. Satellites are designed with end-of-life plans. They are guided out of orbit, burned up in the atmosphere, or moved to quieter regions of space. This does not eliminate risk, but it reduces it, and it reflects a broader principle. Satellites are long-term systems. They are not built for excitement. They are built for reliability. Engineers think in years and decades, in gradual wear, in predictable failure, in careful replacement. This long view shapes how space infrastructure evolves. Change happens, but it happens slowly. The same is true when we think about computing beyond Earth. Ideas like data centers in orbit sound futuristic, and they are, but they are also constrained by very real limits. Cooling helps, solar energy helps, but distance introduces delay. Maintenance becomes complex, and not all computing benefits from being far away. In practice, most future systems will be hybrid, some processing close to users, some specialized tasks farther out. Extension, rather than replacement. This pattern is familiar. New technology rarely erases the old. It settles alongside it, quietly, over time. This brings us to a broader perspective. The future of satellite systems is unlikely to arrive all at once. There will be no single moment when everything changes. Instead, systems will be adjusted, expanded, maintained, often without notice. Most of the time, the future arrives this way, not as an event, but as background, invisible until it becomes normal. Satellites have always belonged to this category. They do not ask for attention, they do not seek recognition, they simply continue, following their paths, keeping time, relaying signals, watching the planet turn. To make this more tangible, it helps to connect these systems to everyday experience. Consider something familiar. Driving a car. Most modern cars rely on satellite navigation. When you turn on your navigation system, it does not know where you are in advance. It listens. Your car receives signals from multiple satellites at once. Each signal carries a timestamp. By comparing how long those signals take to arrive, your position can be calculated. Not approximately, but precisely. This calculation happens continuously, several times per second. As you move, the system adjusts. If a signal is lost, others take its place. You rarely notice this. You simply follow the instructions on the screen. But beneath that calm interface is a constant conversation with space. The same quiet dependence appears in other parts of daily life. When your phone switches between networks, timing matters. When a payment is processed, timing matters. When power grids balance supply and demand, timing matters. In each case, satellite-based timing keeps systems aligned. Without it, small differences would accumulate, seconds would drift, systems would slowly fall out of sync. These effects would not be dramatic at first. They would be subtle, and then increasingly disruptive. Weather forecasts provide another example. When you check the forecast, you are looking at patterns observed from orbit. Cloud movement, temperature gradients, storm development over time. Satellites do not predict the future. They observe the present, from a perspective no ground-based system can match. This long view allows trends to emerge. It allows change to be seen before it is felt locally. Again, this happens quietly. No interaction is required. The information simply arrives. Communication works in a similar way. A video call across continents may pass through space and back without you noticing. Signals travel upward, are redirected, and return to Earth in fractions of a second. Distance is compressed. Geography becomes less restrictive. The experience feels immediate, even though the path is not. All of this illustrates a broader point. Satellites do not introduce new experiences. They stabilize existing ones. They make systems predictable, reliable, boring, in the best possible way. That reliability is the result of careful design. Engineers assume failure will occur. They plan for it. Redundancy is built in. Multiple satellites cover the same areas. Overlapping systems share responsibility. If one component fails, another quietly takes over. This approach mirrors how other infrastructure works. Water systems, electricity grids, transportation networks, space-based systems are no different. They are maintained, updated, and eventually replaced. Not all at once. Gradually, this gradual change extends into future planning. When new satellite systems are proposed, they are designed to coexist with the old. Transitions are slow. Testing is extensive. Compatibility matters. The goal is continuity, not disruption. This mindset also applies to newer ideas, like computing and data processing in orbit. While it is tempting to imagine a sudden shift away from Earth-based systems, reality is more measured. Most everyday computing will remain close to users, close to where data is generated, close to where responses are needed quickly. Space-based computing, where it appears, will likely support specific tasks: monitoring, filtering, pre-processing data before it returns to Earth. These roles are quiet. They do not replace familiar systems. They complement them. Over time, this layered approach creates resilience. No single system becomes indispensable. Instead, responsibility is shared. This is how complex infrastructure survives, not through bold leaps, but through steady accumulation. As users, we rarely see this process. We simply experience reliability, directions that make sense, forecasts that improve, connections that hold. And because these systems work so well, they fade into the background of daily life, which brings us back to the beginning. Satellites shape modern life, not by being impressive, but by being dependable. They support routines. They reduce uncertainty. They allow attention to rest elsewhere. In that sense, they are a quiet technology, one designed, not to be noticed, but to be trusted. And because of that, they allow modern life to feel stable, predictable, quiet. If you're still awake, thank you for listening. And if you've drifted off, that's exactly what this was meant for. New episodes are added quietly, without notifications or noise. Wherever you are, and whatever time it is, I hope this helped the world feel a little calmer. Good night.